This will be genetics notes number 3. So the third set of notes, this is the last set of notes for this chapter. We'll talk about sex-linked traits and epistasis. We will also do a little intro to some new problems you'll see in worksheet 4. So sex-linked inheritance, every time there's sexual reproduction, about 300 million sperm are released into the female. Sperm are specialized with flagella for traveling to the egg. A normal human female typically releases 1 egg per month, and the egg is specialized with the necessary nutrients to nourish the egg through development into an embryo. For sex-linked inheritance, we know that every person has 2 sex chromosomes. Females have 2 X's and males have an X and a Y. Maleness is determined by the presence of a single Y chromosome. The chances of having a male versus female is basically 50-50, although different things you read might tell you that it's not exactly 50-50, but in general, it typically is. The male, the father, determines the sex of the offspring. If he provides an X, the child will be female. If he provides a Y, the child will be male. Some traits are linked to these sex chromosomes, and they're typically linked to the X sex chromosome because the Y chromosome is actually very tiny. There's not a lot of genes that exist that are on the Y. So any sex-linked trait we're talking about is typically on the X sex chromosome. These are things such as color blindness, blood clotting, that hemophilia trait, and baldness, which is why you typically see males actually with these traits more often than you would see females. Recessive genes for color blindness, hemophilia, and pattern baldness also exist. So here's just the slide just shows you a little bit about color blindness. So here you should see the number 12 if you are not colorblind. Here you should see an 8. This is a 58. This more so looks like an S to me. This is an 18. This is a 17, and this is the letter E. So if you cannot see those things, you might have some color blindness issues. So to look at how this would work in for our Punnett squares. So if we're working with the trait of color blindness, dominant would be to have normal vision, and recessive is to be colorblind. So I'm telling you that mom is normal and dad is colorblind, just for practice, all right? So right off the bat, we know mom is XX and dad is XY. If mom is normal, she is homozygous dominant, or she is heterozygous here. Dad, however, has a little b. Nothing, this is an important thing to note here, nothing will ever go on your Y chromosome. It's so small that it's actually not going to hold these genes. So in order for dad to be colorblind, he needs the recessive gene. So he would just have 1 lowercase b here. What we would call this, so this is homozygous dominant still. This is heterozygous. This, we have a new genotype. We would call this hemizygous. So hemi is like half. Think of the hemispheres of the earth. Southern, northern, all that. So you have your different hemispheres. So this would be hemizygous because it's only on half the chromosomes, only on the X. Recessive. So hemizygous recessive would be our dad's genotype there. So how many squares would we need to do? 2. Here are our squares. So immediately the first thing you do after writing mom and dad's genotypes on the tops and sides of your squares is you should be filling in every box with XX or XY. All right, so you should have 2 with XX and 2 with XY. Bring down the X, bring over the X, down, over, down, over, down, over. So basically what this is telling us, we have a 50% chance of having a female and a 50% chance of having a male. After you have the X's and your Y's filled into your boxes, now you could bring down the alleles or the genes for vision. So after we fill these in, so we bring the big B down, little b over, down, nothing to bring over for the Y, and down. Nothing to bring over for the Y. So these Y's will remain empty. Same thing over here. Nothing goes on the Ys. Then we have to do our genotypes and phenotypes. So here we have 2 heterozygous, but we have to be specific since we have males and females here in our square. So we say 2 het females. And here we have 2 hemizygous dominant, with our capital letters, so they're dominant, hemizygous dominant males. So phenotypically, 2 normal vision females and 2 normal vision males. So we have no one here in our offspring are colorblind. If mom is heterozygous and dad is hemizygous recessive, we end with 1 het female, 1 homozygous recessive female, 1 hemizygous dominant male, and 1 hemizygous recessive male. Phenotypically, we have 1 normal female, 1 colorblind female, 1 normal male, and 1 colorblind male. So that's how you would do a sex-linked trait. The only sex-linked traits I'm going to give you are colorblindness or hemophilia. That's the only 2 we'll be working with. So if you see colorblindness or hemophilia on a paper that we're doing or on your test, immediately you are putting X's and Y's. Without the X's and Y's, you would be wrong. Epistasis is the next topic we'll be talking about. Epistasis means this state to lie on top of or to cover up. Epistasis occurs when 1 gene pair covers up the expression of other gene pairs. So for example, albinism. Albinism is a pair of recessive genes. So this person, if you have albinism, you are actually homozygous recessive. So say little a, little a. And if you are little a for albinism, that trait of being albino covers up any other gene that you have for skin color, eye color, hair color, or anything else. So you could actually have coded for, say, brown eyes, brown hair, and tan skin, but if you are albino, you get homozygous recessive for that trait, then all those other ones for hair, skin, and eyes, they get masked or hidden or covered up by albinism. So you end up not getting pigment. That's why people with albinism have the white hair, typically more so, they say pink eyes. You'll see that more so in rabbits. But people with albinism have typically super light blue eyes and very light skin as well. So for example, our trait is albinism. Here we have dominant would be normal pigment and recessive would be the albino. If both parents are het, that means they are normal, okay? This is an example of complete dominance. It's just a different type of complete dominance. Let's see here. So mom is het, dad is het. So we fill in the square as normal. Our genotypes, we have 1 homozygous dominant, 2 heterozygous, and 1 homozygous recessive. 75% chance, 3 out of 4 of being normal pigmented. And then there is a 1 out of 4 chance or 25% chance that these 2 people could have a albino child. If they then have this, if this is what the child gets, they are albino. So if they come up as albino, then this trait of albinism would mask all of their other traits that contain pigment. So even if, once again, they had brown eyes, brown hair, tan skin, if they are albino, none of that matters and it all gets canceled out, which is weird because this is homozygous recessive and we're not used to that happening, which is why this gets its own category of epistasis. And those are the notes. So to look at worksheet 4 and just to do another example for you, let's see here. You're going to see a number of different problems on here. Number 1 is complete dominance, like on worksheet 1 and 2. Number 2 would be incomplete dominance. 3, you have your blood type, so that's codominance. 4 is the RH factor, so that's also complete dominance with your symbols. 5 is incomplete dominance. 6 here is a new one. This is our color blindness. This is the first one we're going to look at here. Our trait is color blindness. It's dominant to have color vision, and it's recessive to be colorblind. I'm telling you that mom is homozygous dominant and dad is colorblind. To all possible crosses, list the genotypes and phenotypes. So right off the bat, mom is XX, dad is XY. The indicator, color blindness, we know that's a sex-linked trait, so automatically we have to write down our sex chromosomes. Mom is homozygous dominant, so she gets 2 capital B's. Dad is colorblind, that is recessive, so he has to get a little b. Remember, nothing goes on the Y. So we have 1 square to do. We immediately fill in all our X's and our Y's because, once again, it's a sex-linked trait. And then we could bring down all of our B's to fill in everything. Remember, nothing goes on the Y, ever. It's too small of a chromosome. It will not hold those genes. So filling in our genotypes, we have 2 females that are het and 2 males that are hemizygous dominant. So hemi means half, just like the hemispheres of our planet. The letter is capital, so it's dominant. XY would be a male. Phenotypically, we have 2 color vision females, because they both have the capital B's. And we have 2 color vision males, because they have capital B's. So that's it for that one. Here's a blood clotting one. So this is the other type of sex-linked trait you would get. This would be number 9 on worksheet 4. So mom's a carrier and dad is normal. So a carrier, that's a new terminology for you here. Mom being a carrier, that's a simple way or a scientific way of saying she's heterozygous. So she is not hemophiliac herself, but she does carry the gene for hemophilia. So that's why we call this a carrier. Dad is normal, so it's dominant, so he gets his capital B. So there's only 1 Punnett square that we need to do for this. So make sure you fill in your X's and your Y's, and then you can bring down your B's for blood. And with our genotypes and phenotypes, we find we have 1 homozygous dominant female, 1 heterozygous female, 1 hemizygous dominant male, and 1 hemizygous recessive male. 2 normal clotting females, 1 normal male, but then we do have a hemophiliac male with hemophilia. Finally, this is number 10 on worksheet 4. This is talking about epistasis, which we talked about earlier in the PowerPoint here in the video. If a person is albino, that is an example of epistasis. What is epistasis? It occurs when 1 gene pair covers up the expression of other gene pairs. What will the genotype of this person be with reference to the trait of pigmentation? They would be homozygous recessive if they were to be albino, which is little a, little a. Does this person have genes for hair color, eye color, skin color, etc.? Yeah, they actually do. They could have the genes for brown hair, green eyes, light skin, but they would be hidden by this whole epistasis thing. Can this person have normally pigmented children? Yes, if the other parent is not albino. So if you have 2 albino people having children, then their kids are definitely going to be albino because all you have are little a's. But if there's some type of combination of parents where we can get a dominant gene in there for normal pigmentation, then you would not have the albino child. There will be no worksheet 5 video since this is a combination of all the different types of problems that we have done so far. So please see me with any questions should you need any help. Have a great day.